Hello everybody, my name is Riz, and today I'm going to be teaching you everything you need to know about a game called Doors. Now, in case you didn't know, Doors is a horror game on Roblox based on trial and error. There are many different entities and many different obstacles that you'll encounter throughout your trip through the doors. I'll be going over all of them today. Now, before we get started, I would like to separate this episode into 5 categories: must-know information, rooms themselves, entities, door 50 figure, and door 100 figure. Number 1. Must-know information. For the first category, I'm going to be starting off with the key function. The key function you will see as soon as you get off the elevator in the first room. When you get into the first room, you will have to crouch under a hotel luggage carrier and get the first key located on the wall. You can then use that key to open the first door and continue into the rooms. Other times, you may find keys in drawers or on desks or beds in other rooms where you may not immediately find the key. This is done on purpose so that you can continue on to the next room after you find the key. Keys may sometimes emit a blue light and make a sparkling noise. This is known as the guiding light. Once you find the key, you can continue on to the next room with no issue. Another thing I would like to know are the hiding places. You can hide inside closets or under beds, which are located in random rooms. Another thing I would like to know are the items. You can find lighters, flashlights, lockpicks, and vitamins hidden throughout random drawers among the rooms. These are crucial to help you get through dark rooms. At least the lighters and the flashlights are. And the vitamins will make you run faster, which is good for the seek chase, which I'll talk about later. And the lockpick is great for picking locks when you are in a dark room and cannot find the key. The first entity I'll be talking about is Rush. Rush will flicker the lights as a warning before speeding through multiple rooms and disappearing. Rooms that Rush has passed through will have their lights broken and the room will fall dark, but not as dark as dark rooms. Rush will instantly kill players on contact. Hiding while Rush is speeding through rooms will provide safety to the player. You can hide in closets, under beds, and sometimes in some rooms you can hide in the corner of a room. Here are some things to note about Rush. While the flickering lights may serve as a warning of Rush's arrival, the lights may also flicker randomly without an entity attack. Fate-like flickers are usually shorter and less severe. If the lights drastically flicker for a few seconds, Rush is likely on its way. But if the light flickering takes way longer than usual, even for a rush/ambush chase warning, then the next room will contain Halt. Hiding in a basement or an air duct can offer safety from Rush. Jack has a chance to appear if the player opens the next door before Rush attacks. If Rush appears in a room with a ventilation shaft, it will go back after reaching the locked door. Rush will never attack in dark rooms or during Seek's crescendo. I should also note that Rush can move very fast. So fast that Rush can kill the player within the first 10 seconds of the lights flickering. That's why it is crucial to hide as soon as possible. You're about to see some footage of Rush. Fair warning though, it is very loud. The next entity I'll be talking about is Ambush. Ambush will play a distorted sound effect for 5 seconds as a warning of its arrival. It will speed through multiple rooms but will backtrack to catch unsuspecting players. This cycle is completed 1 to 6 times before vanishing. Ambush is noticeably quicker than Rush and similarly instantly kills anyone who comes in contact. Hiding while Ambush is speeding through rooms will provide safety for the player. It emits a green glow different from Rush, who has a dark fog. Hide will try to kick you out if you stay in a closet for too long. Be sure to get out and back in every time Ambush backtracks to prevent it from happening. Contrary to popular belief, ambushes spawning isn't limited to later doors, as ambush can spawn as early as the third door, with it only getting more common the further the player goes. Each run, it is almost guaranteed that ambush will spawn at least once. However, it is possible to complete the game without encountering ambush. Hiding in a basement or air duct can offer safety from ambush. Ambush will never attack in a dark room or during Seek's crescendo. The following you're about to see is Ambush's attack. Once again, a fair warning, it is very loud. The next entity I'll be talking about is Seek. Seek will manifest after players have reached the end of the pre-generated hallway, teleporting them all in front of the next room's door. The players will begin to run away from Seek, with a few rooms having obstacles that players will have to crouch under. Guiding Light will aid players in this chase until they reach the end. At the last hallway, Black Hands will burst through the windows that are able to instantly kill players when in contact, along with fallen chandeliers that will damage you for 40 health. Once the players have gone past the hallway, Seek's chase will be interrupted by the door closing in front of it. Seek will bang on the door 2 times before giving up, letting the players go. Here are some things to note about Seek. The hands during Seek's chase scene used to not kill the player, this is now patched. Seek will beeline towards the intended room and kill anyone that's behind it once it reaches the end of the room, preventing the players that have, for example, looped around a hexagon-shaped room to get behind Seek. The first chase lasts for 5 doors. The first chase consists of an alternation between crawl spaces and doors. The second chase lasts for 7 doors. The second chase consists of only doors, there are no crawl spaces. Whether you are moving or not, your character will automatically run forward. You will not slow down if you are crouching. This is important when going through a crawl space. Similarly to Halt, all other players are rendered invisible during the chase to make it easier to navigate. Note that Rush and Ambush are unable to spawn in rooms with Seek's eyes, regardless of if it has a closet or not. This is due to Seek's crescendo, whereas it will populate rooms following up to the chase sequence, with more progressively more of Seek's eyes until it reaches the pre-generated hallway, where the chase sequence will begin. This will sometimes make the room have flickering lights, like a Rush/Ambush attack. Seek will let out a scream when it gets close to you, letting you know that it is near. Seek also screams when the player is in the last room of the chase. Dying in a Seek chase and using a revive will not make the player do the chase again. If you were caught by Seek, you would notice your appearance had been turned into Seek's texture. Maybe there will be a new feature in the future that if the player was killed by Seek, they would get infected and help Seek killing the remaining survivors. Actually, if you were spectating one of your teammates killed by Seek after you were killed by either the fallen chandeliers, Seek's hands, or even Seek himself, you would notice their body getting infected. The following is a video on Seek's chase sequence. The next entity I'll be talking about is Screech. Screech will stalk its prey by quietly observing from a distance. The player can know Screech's presence by listening closely to the very subtle sounds it makes. If the player is too late in spotting Screech, it will jump scare the player and crunch away 40 health. Locating Screech in time will also jump scare the player, though Screech will not cause any harm and only flee. Here are some things to note about Screech. The player has to look directly at Screech in order to not take any damage, not a simple glimpse. It is possible for Screech to follow the player out of a dark room, so the player should always check around after exiting one. Having a light source out reduces the chance of Screech from spawning in. Light can be shared with other players, as staying near others with a light source will lower the chances of Screech appearing. Screech is capable of spawning in without alerting the player, though will eventually play the sound cue late to make its presence known. Screech spawns directly behind the player. It is recommended players proceed in a straight line or at 90-degree angles to help dial where Screech is. On rarer occasions, Screech will spawn directly beside the player. In multiplayer settings, Screech can only target one person at a time. The noises Screech makes can also occur outside dark rooms, though this is solely to startle the player and will not cause a jump scare. The fake audio cue is quieter than the real one, allowing players to know if Screech has spawned or not. If the dark room in question is a locked room, guiding light will eventually appear and highlight the exit and key. If the room has a variety of doors and drawers to open and search, it may be ideal to wait for guiding light to perform its highlight. It's possible to stand near the guiding light to lower Screech from attacking. It's also possible for Screech to appear when crawling through a vent. The next entity I'll be talking about are the eyes. Eyes will emit a purple glow around the area they're about to spawn in as a warning before appearing and dealing damage to players who stare at them. Each second a player stares at them, they will deal 10 damage a tick. To avoid getting damaged, the player must look away and maneuver around the room. Opening the next room's door will disperse them. Eyes' presence can be triggered if either rush or ambush breaks the next room door, letting the player know of Eyes early on. However, there's a slim chance of this happening. Eyes can spawn behind the blocked doors in ventilation rooms, which will result in players becoming completely avoiding them due to it being impossible to enter through such doors. If Eyes spawns in a wardrobe room, there's a chance it can spawn inside a wardrobe, making it impossible for the player to be harmed by it. Here's some footage of Eyes' attack. The next entity I'll be talking about is Halt. Halt will first haunt a room by flickering the lights before making the next room a long hallway. Its arrival is predictable as the lights flicker the longest in comparison to other entities. Once a player has entered the next room, the lights will go out, with the only illumination being Halt's light blue eyes. Halt's first appearance will be behind the player, slowly approaching them before teleporting in front of the player, making his presence known by flashing "turn around" on the entire screen. Halt will then teleport behind the player again, flashing the same message again. This behavior is looped until the player has reached the end of the hallway. If Halt makes contact with the player, they will take 60 damage. Here are some things to note about Halt. Halt will flicker the lights longer than Rush and Ambush does. If you notice that the lights have flickered unusually longer and neither one of the said entities show up, be prepared to face Halt. You do not have to turn all the way around when Halt appears in front of you, as walking backwards will also work and takes less time. Other players will be rendered invisible in order to remain less chaotic. This also happens during a chase sequence with Seek. Halt makes noises during your encounter with it. The earliest that Halt can spawn is the first door. After you get past Halt, you can re-enter the room to loot any of the drawers. This is especially useful if you got damaged during an encounter. Note that Halt will not respawn should you re-enter the room. The following is a footage of Halt. The next entity I'll be talking about is Jack. Jack can interface with the player in various ways. Currently, there is a 1 out of 2,000 chance for Jack to appear on the other side of a recently opened door, along with a 1 out of 20 chance of Jack being inside a closet. You cannot go inside a closet when Jack is inside it, as it pushes you away before abruptly closing the doors. Opening a wardrobe once more will show that Jack has disappeared, and the player will be able to hide as normal. Here are some notes about Jack. If Jack appears on the other side of a door, it will distort the room and make it a dark room for a few seconds. Players can vaguely witness Jack within a closet beforehand before peering through the gap between the doors. Jack can still appear if rush, ambush, or figure are present. Rush can also trigger Jack when it opens the next door. Next up on the list we have Timothy. Timothy has a 1 out of 200 chance to appear in a drawer, taking the appearance of a small spider. Once the player has opened the drawer with Timothy inside, it'll jump at the player, dealing 5 points of damage. After the attack, Timothy will fall off the player's screen and await in another drawer. There's only one note about Timothy, being Timothy is the only harmful entity that cannot kill players. And with that being said, that is the end of the entities list. There are many different rooms you can discover throughout your journey through the doors, and I'm here to explain to you how to get through them. I'm going to start off with the paintings puzzle room. The painting puzzle is a randomly generated location where players will have to swap paintings around to match each painting's canvas shape outlined with a blue border on the walls. Said canvas shapes are horizontally and vertically rectangular, square, and oval. Once all painting canvases are matching, the fireplace will descend, revealing the door to the next room. Switch rooms can only generate in 2 types of rooms, those being basements and mini libraries. The room will spawn with a lever that must be flipped in order to proceed to the next room. It is quite hard to find the switch as lights in these rooms are dimmed. Fortunately, Screech will not spawn. There is also a gate blocking the next door. The switch can appear randomly around the room, sometimes in nooks and crannies, the other times out in the open. This room can also generate as a dark room, which makes finding the switch more difficult. Well, you've made it this far, and I'm going to be talking about level 50 figure. Here are some things to know about level 50 figure. So, let's start about the monster known as Figure. They are blind and can hear mostly everything. To avoid its death, it is needed that you crouch around. So, let's start on level 50. Level 50 is a library with tons of books. There are 9 books you can collect and 1 note that can tell you the code. There will be 5 shapes with Roman numbers, and the exit has a padlock on it with a 5-digit code, which can be solved using the note you found. Alright, I'm going to explain how to solve the puzzle. The puzzle is very simple. You must find 5 books matching the piece of paper. It can be random every time. Once all 9 books have been found, you need to look at each shape and the number next to it and match it up to the piece of paper and enter the code on the numlock. I should also note that the paper is located on the desk where the figure walks in front of, although you cannot get attacked by the figure while you're behind this desk unless you are blatantly standing up. With that being said, let's now move on to level 100. Level 100 is a power room with a lever which needs to be pulled to progress, and once that's done, Figure will appear up a set of stairs and will jump down. You need to go back to the previous room and enter a closet, which will make you play a minigame. Once that's done, wait until Figure is far enough away and go up the stairs. You will see an elevator with a key in it. You need to grab the key, go back down, and open the locked door, and do a puzzle which is... This is called the Circuit Breaker puzzle. The Circuit Breaker is a pre-generated puzzle having to be solved before going down the elevator to floor 2. It will always spawn at room 100 in the electrical room. The Circuit Breaker has 10 switches that the player can interact with, but they're turned off by default. The monitor above the switches will show what switches need to be turned on or off. The bar fills by 10% for each switch correctly set. Depending on what the monitor has shown, once the bar is filled completely, the switches will reset and the monitor will display another set of switches. This will be until the player has done 3 complete bars, resulting in the breaker turning on, giving power to the elevator. Here are some things to know about the circuit breaker puzzle. Completing this puzzle with no errors in under a minute will grant player the Expert Technician achievement. If the player makes an error, the switches will remain on. The player must turn them off while the bar is decreasing to avoid confusion. There's no limit on the puzzle. The figure will only break down the door once it has been completed. And with that being said, that is the official end to my guide. Now, there are 2 entities that I forgot to mention in the entities list, so I will be listing them now. The first entity I'll be talking about is hide. When a player remains in a hiding spot for too long, their screen will slowly start to show red visual effects with the word "get out" flashing on the screen, playing heartbeats and static sounds that get faster over time. If the player remains in their hiding spot, hide will proceed to push the player out, dealing 40 damage. Once shoved out, the player will not be able to hide again with any of the hiding spots for around 10 seconds. Attempting to re-enter a closet within this time will leave the player with the message, "Something is stopping you from hiding." The following is footage of hide. The next entity I'll be talking about is glitch. When a player has been left too far behind, glitch will attack them from behind, turning the player around automatically. When teleporting said player back to the furthest room the other players have reached, it will also deal a random amount of damage to the player between 10 and 40. Glitch is also capable of appearing as a failsafe in a single player and multiplayer runs to ensure players can progress when room generation fails, such as causing rooms to overlap each other. It will attack players and send them to the next room, although they won't take any damage. Here are some things to note about glitch. Note that any doors before glitch appears will become inaccessible once it teleports someone. These doors do not have a sign and cannot be opened. Make sure all players are in the same room to avoid a player's death from being too far away. If one or more players are several rooms behind the rest of their group, then glitch will simultaneously teleport all of them if they are not caught up in time. The threshold for glitch is usually 4 to 5 doors. If a player is too far behind from the group, they can use vitamins for a temporary speed boost. The game will also grant players who are falling behind a temporary speed boost. Previous doors will close when other players go in new rooms. If you get stuck in one, glitch will attack 1 to 3 seconds after the door closes. The following is footage of glitch. And with that being said, that concludes this video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button. Have a nice day, everybody. Goodbye.